It is 6 o'clock. I will call this meeting of the Juneau Utility Commission order. Roll has been taken. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Minutes of the previous meetings.
So moved.
Motion by Dave, second by Dick, to approve it. Minutes of any additions, corrections? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Public appearances. Mike Peters won't be here. He has been taken ill.
He's
So-
rescheduled for December. He rescheduled for December.
December. Okay. If not, then we will move right up. You move right up to the head of the line.
Thank you,
So
appreciate it.
Do
You have I have some handles, I don't have that though, I
Okay.
just have.
This is just the first page of the change order that she's gonna speak of. I didn't print the full 20-some pages.
Just more of an update. You want me to- Okay, sure.
Yeah. Good for you. Good. Two pages? Oh, just one for you.
Yep.
Do you think
Oh, yeah,
that's
that
what-
works.
Hey,
Unless you don't need
I
it.
got time for one more.
One more.
everybody got one?
Alright. Should I wait for Lori to come back in?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I can give you a little update about myself. So I'm Sherry Scott. I work for MSA, the engineers working on the wastewater treatment plant. I've been doing this for about 20 years. I grew up in Northeast Wisconsin on a dairy farm. Went to UW Platteville for engineering. Worked for a consulting firm for about 10 years. Worked for a pretty decent size utility for about 6 in their water and wastewater group. And then I've been with MSA for a little over 5 years. I'm the project manager overseeing construction, the day activities between first stop that's out there and corresponding with Alex, and then we have an on-site RPR out there. His name's Cody. I think you met him, Robert.
Yeah.
So I guess I just want to give you a little bit of a update. I know you've met Matt Costello during the facilities planning process and the design phase. He's still available. We talk to him regularly. He's helping out with submittal reviews. He's available for questions when we need him. I talk to him often. So I have a lot typed up here, and most of it's pictures. Everyone likes to look at pictures. You might have seen some of them in the weekly updates that we send out. So as a reminder, we bid this project in January. Gave notice of award in March. Substantial completion's not for a while. It's all the way out in March 2025, so we have about another year and a half of construction to go. Final completion is July 1st, 2025. To date, staff has completed they've formed and poured the oxidation ditch. We're waiting for the mechanical equipment to come in, and a lot of that won't be able to be started until next year. We're waiting on electrical equipment to come in and be installed. But they got the ditch up. It's being tested for leakage right now. So far it's passing, which is good. They're working on the storage garage foundation slab. Waiting on some building materials. Next they'll be doing some backfill of that foundation for the storage garage. They're working on the foundation for the chemical feed building this week. They started that. And to date, I guess some of the stuff that we've been doing and handling regularly is every piece of equipment and material that arrives on site, they have to submit a submittal for, so we get one last chance to do the review to make sure everything jives, and in the end, we have a working product and a good product. Sometimes this is kind of fun facts. To date, we've reviewed about 145 submittals. It's hard to believe you end up getting through that, how much paperwork this all accumulates in the end. All of them are electronic now, and then we'll get paper copies to Alex, and you might be getting paper copies already, unless Cody's hanging on to them. And in the contract with Staub, between the village or the city and Staub, there's a clause in there that engineers just going to review 2 submittals. So if they come in sloppy, and they take more than 2 submittals, say there's 3 or 4 submittals, we're tracking that time separately so the city doesn't pay for that extra review time. So far, there's been, I think, 15 submittals that have come in extra above and beyond what the city's obligated to pay. So it's going to come out of their retainage at the end. It'll be a closeout change order at the end of the project, and we'll have to collect that extra cost. We've been keeping Staub up to date on how much time has been accumulating and what the time has been spent on. Another interesting thing that's never happened in my career, US EPA came to the site to do an audit back in August. It was a good visit. They came out, so Clean Water, DNR is funding the project through your Clean Water Fund, or through their Clean Water Fund loan program, and those funds come from the US EPA. So I guess every 3 years, it's been, I think, about 6 years now, they said, they come and randomly pick some projects to come and visit for American iron and steel compliance. So as part of clean water funding, you have to, the contractor has to comply with American iron and steel. We refer to that as AIS. So many of the products on site, outside of the equipment and electrical gear, have to have AIS certifications and have to be made in America. So they came out, they wanted to look at all the AIS products. They came out and took pictures of all the products laying in their yard. Basically interviewed us for how collecting those AIS certifications been going. They asked for a little bit more information afterwards. We gave it to them. They're going to give you a report in draft form. They said they don't, I think once in his career he ever had to finalize one. But I think it went well. They didn't find anything or write us up. It more or less was a, they said they wanted to use it as more of an educational site visit to make sure we all understand the purpose and why we're collecting AIS certs. I think a little bit of it was to check up on the manufacturers too, to see how they are doing with giving us the information that is required. We're working with the contractor, so if the contractor has questions, they submit what's called an RFI, a request for information. So we have about 20 of them to date. They can be simple things. Usually they aren't simple if they can find them in the plans. They should just go look for that information. But sometimes it's, hey, I can't find this, whatever it was you specified. Do you have a suggestion for a substitution, or I don't know, I can't think of any right now off the top of my head, but whatever it is, they come in through paper or through electronically, but then we answer them and they become part of the final contract documents. Field orders, we have a couple field orders we prepared. I think what they were for. I think one was for some HVAC clarifications, and I can't remember what the other one is for, but we've done 2. We've done a work change directive for the natural gas to, or from liquid propane to natural gas. There's been a few requests for proposals. So for example, extra outlets at the oxidation ditch was one of the requests for proposals. changing out, quantity of data cranes was a request for proposal, just to get, cost information from the contractor. We'll give that to the contractor, they'll get us cost back, we can decide with the help of Alex, if maybe we want to go ahead or not to include that in the project. We've been working with the contractor on change orders and reviewing them and negotiations with them on the change orders. We'll talk a little bit more about the change orders down below. We've been coordinating with some additional changes after the bid, so like the natural gas line, additional outlets. I guess some of these are probably the field orders or the request for proposals that may or may not be complete to date, but are something that's on the table for discussion. Working with Alex on some of them. There's a request to change the door materials from fiberglass to steel. Maybe change where the asphalt limits in the yard, and maybe put some grass in different locations or more asphalt in some other areas. Change the lighting in the filter room. Potential for a new water line as well. I have a summary of the change orders to date. So change order 1 was for a DNR sign. So in order to be part of drinking water, you had to put the sign up there. So there was a $1,600 cost. Change order 2 is for a net deduct of $78,225. And on the following sheet, I have the summary of that, and I think it's on the sheet that Lori gave you also. So I had mentioned before, there were 14 data cranes on the project plans. They were all hot dip galvanized, I believe. We reducing the number of data cranes because Alex's team doesn't want to have them outside in the weather, so they're changed to stainless steel, and there's 2 of them. So that gave you a deduct of $11,596. The mixers inside the oxidation ditch, we needed to have a baffle to protect them from the flow in the channels. This came up during the bidding phase, and instead of delaying the bid and get it all coordinated with a manufacturer and get it all designed, we decided we'd just go ahead and bid the project and coordinate with the contractor as part of the construction phase. So that's an addition of $2,679. There's additional electrical outlets in the oxidation ditch that the contractor will put in for $1,614. Now these are so that Alex can have outlets closer to where he will have some trash pumps that he wants to plug in the future. So there's 2 out there already, but this just makes it more closer, so you don't need such a long cord. The additional seal fail wiring for landfill pumps and mixers. The pumps and mixers come with some seal fail connections, and so this wiring would come from the compact plant back to the new chemical building, to the motor control centers there. They aren't necessary. If you don't want to install them, we don't have to. That's for an addition of $8,789. There was a water heater pressure tank that was called out in the specs that they don't need to provide as part of this project. So that's a credit of $2,168. When we're reviewing the bid documents, when the contractor submitted their bid, so during design we get a lot of cost information we kind of just keep in our back pocket, so when they prepare their bid, we ask them to put down their unit price or bid pricing for some of this equipment on the bid table. Some of those costs came in a lot higher than we had imagined they would, so what we had talked to the contractor about is he admitted that there was a double bid counted for the aeration control system twice, so there's a credit of $53,720. There was some chemical tank changes. We had asked for a pressurized FRP tank in the spec. we don't need that in this installation. So there's a cost savings of $21,311. During oxidation ditch construction, the contractor requested to use 4-inch water stop instead of 6-inch water stop. So this water stop is installed. So you have a base slab, you have a wall come down, you pour the base slab first, and then you need to form your wall second. That water stop is half of it stuck in the slab and half of it stuck in the wall, so that you don't get water seeping from underneath. So they went with a 4-inch instead of a 6-inch to be able to fit the rebar and get their concrete clearances around it for $2,512 credit for that. So you end up with a net deduct of $78,225 on the change order, and I believe this is an item you're to take action on later. Are there any questions?
What was the logic of going from fiberglass doors to steel doors in an environment like that?
So
Steel doors tend to rust.
that was at request from us, and that we wanted to match the dark color of the doors we have out there. And the fiberglass doors we were advised have a higher potential for swell, especially if they're a dark color. So more or less, I didn't want to fight a door closing for 30 years, even though it wasn't rusty, as opposed to having a steel door that works all the time, but eventually may rust.
Yeah, that's a guarantee.
Yeah. So that was our opinion. Just because we wanted the dark color, they said in the sun that, yeah.
Yeah, we'd recommend that if you're gonna have a FRP door, you paint it a light color,
Right.
a lighter color.
I think I give up the match for a door that's not going to prematurely rust away.
Every other door we have in the plant is steel already. They're not falling apart.
They're not. We sure couldn't keep them on this well building here.
I don't know the difference.
Okay. I just thought with chemicals and everything else, you know, and, yeah.
The chemicals we have on hand, they're not very corrosive. We don't use ferric or anything that's very acidic anymore. So that's not necessarily an issue. It's mostly just moisture that we're worried about at this.
Salt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd take a fiberglass door in a minute over a steel door. You know, I'm sure that's why they were designed or spec.
Yeah, we do FRP on all of our projects.
Yeah.
So there's ventilation in that room that will draw air, I mean, keep it dry?
Yeah.
Have you had a history of fiberglass doors swelling up?
If they're painted dark colors, they will swell more than a steel door. But usually that's where you get a contrasting door color maybe, but they're painted, we have them painted. But up to you.
That's- Yeah.
And generally, fiberglass comes in a textured finish rather than a smooth finish, like a steel door would.
Yeah, you can get them in.
You can get
texture,
fiberglass and
get
smooth finish, too.
Yeah, but I mean, generally they're textured.
I think you can get them colored from the manufacturer
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
We have them painted for extra protection on site. And to match, because you can't, they usually have just like 8 generic colors used.
Yeah.
So,
That's we thought the aesthetics of matching door colors with every other building we have would outweigh replacing a door 20 years from now.
You get 20 years out of them, thank your lucky stars.
I hope.
And is that a cost savings or an upcharge?
I don't know, all the submittals are completed at this point on the FIP doors. They haven't ordered them.
So we're gonna have labor on reviewing submittals to do that change. But the product itself is probably cheaper. So basically, probably a wash, more or less.
So we'll have AIS compliance on that too. On that change order too, that you have in front of you, the DNR has done their pre-review of it also. They said they're in support of it and nothing that they wouldn't fund on their project.
I have a question.
Oh,
If, the one item you said for the seal field wiring, that we don't have to have that,
right.
why would we want to then, at $8,700?
It just provides you an extra, way to confirm what's going on with the pump, so, or the mixer. If the mixer fails, you know that it was a seal. Helps with your troubleshooting.
You basically need it. I mean, it's the only way to know if your equipment is starting to fail.
Mm.
Yeah, you need it. There's no way around it. So otherwise, you're gonna get, moisture in the motor and catastrophic failure with no way of knowing it. So it's kind of a preventative measure for us to know this needs to be serviced ahead of time.
Well, why wouldn't that have been figured in by MSA at the start of the project then?
Well, the equipment, has that functionality, comes out with seal fail connections. It wasn't shown on the plans to have that wiring done, so electrical contractor wouldn't have known to include it in their bid.
But it sounds like it's a pretty essential
I don't, it's
item of
an
operation
option.
for a treatment plant.
It's an optional item.
So-
You don't have to have it.
Fundamentally, there was two choices of pumps. The flight pumps, they send both fails through a set of 2 contactors. These Landia pumps send them through 4 contactors. So it's a bigger plug and more wire. Basically, the spec was to say that bid it with the appropriate amount of contacts. People bid it with 2 instead of 4, even though Landia was the chosen preferred equipment. So it was a misbid. I guess that's what happened.
It usually goes back to the contractor.
That's why Jerry's here today and I'm not the one explaining it.
There you go. Okay.
So I think, so when we did the submittal review on it, we saw that it came, the landing equipment came, they needed, came without the extra connections listed, they listed as an option to do. We asked for them to give us the cost for it, because we feel there's a benefit to the owner to have it done. They're already running conduit back and forth between the infrastructure. We understand there's more conduit wire to get these connections made, and we have
Ultimately, it was like 5,001
choice.
feet of wire.
and we have a choice if we want to proceed with it or not.
It's one of those things. The spec was, it missed the negative $53,000, but it also missed the positive $9,000. So I guess we kind of just take it and leave it.
With construction, there's change orders. Try to make everything as perfect as you can. We all like to be perfect, right? Or try to be, or think we are. No one's perfect. There's going to be adders, there's going to be subtractions. We try to come out in the end above. In this case, I guess I feel it's fair to the contractor to get paid for costing, or they don't know who's gonna be the little better. People wouldn't know who was gonna win. That'd be a stop thing to sort out and figure out.
Are you able to go back to the contractor or paper and find out what the actual cost of materials is, and we can pay for the materials because it is extra material, but they compromise and don't charge us for the labor? Or is this number just materials?
I think it's everything, but the bulk of the labor, We can look at how many hours there are, but I bet you there's more labor, or more material costs than there are labor, because they're already out working
Okay.
in that.
Yeah, so they're putting 2 pipes down at the beginning of it.
They already dug the trench, they're already digging.
I had that itemized at one point.
Yeah, I
and
have it
don't
on,
remember.
Is this explosion-proof equipment?
yes. That's where it gets,
Yeah.
Because the plug was $600 itself, and there was a bunch of them, and 5,000 feet of wire. It was, yeah.
I'm not questioning the cost,
Yeah.
I'm just questioning why it wasn't figured in with the original job, and if it was figured in with the original job, why we're stuck with it as an extra, that's what I'm asking.
yeah, it wasn't shown on, electrical called out to be wired separately with the total 4 contacts. So Peeper wouldn't provide it if we didn't ask them to.
So, anybody else have any questions of Sherry?
Is the total incorrect 78,000? I think that the 11,000 at the top is, or am I wrong? I've been wrong before.
You know, no, I think it all adds up. Unless I have
5, 6, 7, 78.
I've done it on a spreadsheet back at the office. I must have typed something wrong and come up with exactly $600 off, so. Contractor and I matched the other day.
Because the 11,000 is a decrease.
Mm-hmm.
Heads up on my calculator.
Yep, I get it. Same number.
Yeah.
So there's some upcoming change orders that haven't been included here, but we needed to move ahead and get some decisions made on some of this so that they can procure equipment. Because of lead times and things like that, we need to give them a yay or nay on some of this, so future change orders will be the natural gas, the conversion to natural gas. We had some HVAC clarifications after reviewing the submittal. And then there's a potential for a solenoid valve material change in the screen wash and press, but that I haven't even talked to you about yet, but it's new as of just this week, so. I think those will all be adders to the project too, if we want to move ahead with them.
Have there been any delays equipment-wise?
There's some valves that, because of AIS, that have been delayed. They aren't coming until February, I believe they said. But other than that, I haven't heard. Yeah.
That's the big one.
Yeah. Ultimately, we're waiting on electrical equipment to come in, and that's, as scheduled. It's gonna take a long time, so it's coming in mid-next year, a lot of it, so. Once that comes in, I think all the mechanical equipment is slated to be arriving around the same time, and they can start doing electrical gear and equipment change outs slowly, one by one by one. It's just gonna be a lot of sequencing or phasing to keep the plant up and running during construction. So the project was bid on your clean water fund loan. Well, when you got the loan on the project, it had a 5% contingency on it, so I have that itemized here too, so deducting change order, or adding in change order 1, however you want to think about it. So that was a negative because it was a positive. And then adding in $78,000 deduct on the project, your contingency is $7,441.928. So change order 3 is going to decrease that contingency again, and then the natural gas line, the DNR will fund just a portion from the highway up to the wastewater plant. So whatever that portion is going to be is going to deduct the contingency also. We have monthly progress meetings out there at the site with the contractor along with weekly. You guys do weekly at the site. The next monthly meeting is September 21st. And then if you like to look at pictures, Cody uploads pictures about once a week to the Google Drive.
Okay, I'll get the an email. I mean, Lori forwards that
Okay.
to everyone.
Yeah.
It's been very interesting.
Yeah. Very cool. Everyone likes to look at the picture part, so I don't know if you have any questions. I think all these have been mostly in your regular weekly packets too, but kind of wanted to pick some from the beginning. Progress through the oxidation ditch construction to the storage garage to the chemical feed building. So,
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for us? If not, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. Good luck on your budget discussions. I think it's gonna be a late night, huh?
Yeah.
And then we'll be in touch tomorrow. Sounds good.
I will try and make the 21st.
Okay. It'll be at 10 o'clock at the site.
I know they're scheduled at 10 o'clock. I put them all in my phone, and it turns out all my doctor's appointments are Thursdays.
Oh, the third Thursday. I think we're the third Thursday. of the
Yeah,
month, so.
yeah. So, but I will try and make one. The first one was very interesting for me anyway. I've never done this.
The pre-construction meeting you went to, right? Yeah.
So they're very interesting if somebody's got time. Then.
Well, I'm glad you find them interesting.
And expensive. Okay.
A lot of people there.
Okay.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Everyone have a good night.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Monthly business. Approve the vouchers and the checks. Motion by Ross, second by Dave to approve the vouchers and the checks. Are there any questions? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Prior month income statement. Anybody have anything on that? If nobody has any questions, council acts affecting utility.
There were none.
There were none. Then we go on to consumption and loss.
Alex and I kind of went over what's been put as deductions and, or counted items on the sewer section. Every month we get a number from the fire department for the amount of water they pump out. That goes through like the pool meter or deduct meter or whatever. That has not been showing up as a credit to the sewer section for their flow. So that has been added on, as well as the well number 3 backwash. And all of the hydrant meters, because the sewer gallons are the same as the water gallons that are pumped. So we're pumping out the water for the hydrant meters in the fire department and the well 3 backwash, but they have not been being deducted from the sewer. So all of this time.
We're trying to work through it and make sure it's actually done correctly.
We've been.
So the numbers may change.
So our percentages either get better or worse.
We'll
Should
see
be
where they
better,
go.
hopefully.
Okay. Any other thing on consumption and loss? Then we go on to delinquent accounts.
We still have 6 people disconnected from the previous disconnections. This past disconnection that we did, those are all turned back on. But these other 6 are from prior to that. And they're all either in jail or have moved and haven't turned out, or they're just not there. So nobody's disconnected that's still living at home.
They're vacant.
They're vacant. Yes, that's a good word. For one day.
Okay. Anything else on that, on those? If not, utility accountant.
Okay.
Lori.
Lori, can I take you back to the checks and vouchers or the payments?
Sure.
You got me listed as $60 for lodging and meal and mileage reimbursement, but it didn't go anywhere, so I didn't think I got a $60 check. That's gotta be for
that
delinquent
was
utility reimbursement.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, so
Um,
have the record show that that's correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's just the description that Pam types in. When she enters that as an invoice. I will make sure that's corrected.
Thank you.
Mhm.
If you want to give me $60, I'll gladly go someplace.
Well, it's not gonna go far.
I'll tell you what, it was a cheap hotel.
I was gonna say, where you find a place for $60 now?
Right?
Under a bridge.
I was gonna say, yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I'm getting Alex's rope here. I wanted to update you on that lead lateral issue we discussed last month at 521 East Oak. That was for the customer that we were worried about them being covered because it was more than $5,500 because they had to replace the sewer lateral at the same time, or that was the economical way to do it. I did talk to the DNR and they did end up covering the whole thing with the grant. So it didn't cost us or the customer anything. So that was a good positive.
Contractor dodged another bullet.
Yep, he did.
The plumber sent the bill through as exclusively water lateral repairs, so
Yeah.
they took it.
The Sensient payments for the loan reimbursement have been coming through We have about $123,000 that we've collected through August from them, from April. And that is the monies that we are going to be using for our interest payment that is due in November for $150,000-ish. So we've got that covered. And then I have the preliminary budget hot off the press here. This is just a preliminary, but it should be fairly close. Your first page is going to have the capital expenditures listed as usual. Poles and valve replacement didn't change. The junctions and transformers, that was what Nick had pre-approved at one of the other meetings because of the time frame for transformers and having to get, I believe there was a larger size that he needed to have a spare or something. But that was something he had already had you guys approved for the $145,000 with the junctions included in that number. The streetlights and those other items are the same. Electric meters increased. As far as I remember, Nick wanted to start putting in the meters that we can just do the flip
You
the
can
switch
shut off
thing. We can
remotely.
shut off remotely. I was speaking it in girl language.
Yeah.
Flip the switch thing. And then the water meters, we had increased that also because you guys have been changing those out more often now. The bucket truck had been pre-approved at the $257,966. Nick did inform me that there is a possible surcharge of 8%, but that will be coming out of the equipment replacement fund. Safety equipment, Nick had requested that we put in a $5,000 budget for that because we do have to keep that equipment up to date and safe working. So he wants to have a budget there so that he can replace as needed. And I didn't know if Alex wanted to add, if you have safety equipment stuff that you want to put in a budget for that. I didn't think it was much.
I mean, we do,
Okay. I think yours isn't as extreme as theirs
No.
as far as cost.
no, and we've just been, I think, buying it off of as needed.
Yeah, okay. The GIS support services, he had also explained that to us, so that's on here. For Alex, we have the fire hydrants repainting quarter of the city. That price went up a little bit, so it's $6,000. The leak detection survey is half the city, $3,700. I believe it was like $3,000, and we have $700 in there
One for an emergency
for an
call. out
emergency
needed.
if there's any breaks or anything. The cleaning the wet wells, we had 14,000. You were going to give me an updated
Yeah,
number, but
I did.
so I've at least put it in as 14,000. And then sewer repairs, we upped that for the I&I reduction to 25,000. If there's anything to explain on that, or?
That's just more or less as televising uncovers issues, then at least we have budgeted monies set aside to make repairs.
Cleaning and televising the collection system, cleaning the 3 lift stations, and televising up to 40 sewer laterals is $22,000. And then we have the normal minor equipment for each of the categories, so $5,000 each. For the new items, we have Leonard and Downey. That's something that we have cooks coming in to do the boring, and that with the equipment Nick is estimated $100,000. The street lighting conversion continues at the 18,000. The skid loader bucket, they apparently need a wider one, but I didn't get a price from him for that. That's what that's gonna be. But that would also be able to, I believe, come out of the equipment replacement fund. He had talked also about this Harley rake that they are going joint with the DPW. I don't remember what it is though, what it does. Anybody know what the
I would
Harley
imagine
rake
it's for
is?
when they're putting services in, that they could do some grading.
Yeah, I think it was something with getting.
Turning up the soil.
Lowers the dirt out,
Okay.
authorizes it.
Okay. So anyway, so he said that that's an item that would be joint with DPW, and he hadn't heard from Joe before he left, if Joe is going to still want to do that, so that might be an item that's being removed. And then we've got some water items, the truck mount valve turner.
Truck mount valve turner is basically, we already have the turner itself. It's mounted to the back of the back trailer. Problem with that is it makes the back trailer so much harder to use, and then when you're going to actually use the valve turner, it makes it harder to use that as well. So this $5,500 is just for auxiliary engine and hydraulic unit that we can put in the back of a truck, and actually to just modify it so that we can put the turner right on the back of the pickup truck. So we don't have to pull the trailer around and all that extra work, and we just make it two separate units, so then if we're using the back trailer, it's a lot easier to use that as well. I did do, I wasn't made aware, is East Oak Grove Street going to be done this next year or not?
Not that I'm aware of, so we're not that far along as far as capital projects or
Right.
anything.
So that's not gonna get paid?
Well, we got ARPA funds that we talked about for road rehab, but that would pretty much wipe out the whole ARPA fund.
Okay,
So we're just in the initial stage. Dick
So
and I
okay.
first saw the numbers last night, so.
okay, so we can probably pull
Cross
that,
it up.
pull that off.
Well, I wouldn't pull it
Or-
off, I'd leave it
or
there.
leave
I
it.
mean, just,
We're not
you'll
sure
use it,
yet.
you'll use it someplace else where we'll get a mini project going or something, you know, so.
Sure.
Okay.
As you said, the front door for well 2 right here, similar story, $3,750. It actually doesn't even really open anymore, and there's holes in it on the inside, so
And I bet you that isn't 10 years old.
I would hope it's 10 years old.
Well, it's been changed. Well, it's been changed here during net zero, I know that. But anyway, go on, sorry to interrupt
So
you.
anyhow.
My idea about steel doors. you
Well,
know,
I
that's
see,
what I'm
yeah.
saying, you know.
Lock sets for all of the water department facilities, just because I want to switch over to the wastewater department key, get off of the same key set that opens the Little League baseball fields, stuff like that, just a security measure. Air relief valves at the wells they're not working correctly, just replace them. They can be rebuilt, but I want to re-plumb it a little bit too, so it works better. The truck flush dechlorinating diffuser, it's a bigger unit, so allows us to flush more water effectively, as opposed to the smaller units that we do have already. And then, that's the next one's the big one. And I'll talk more in depth as to the plan when I get to my section later. But I want to make some changes inside of the well houses for treating water that we're sending to the customers. And we can make that decision if it's something we want to do or not. But the goal is to address the corrosion control for lead, and then also to address concerns that everybody has had with chlorine taste and smell as well. So, on the sewer side, we had rebuild the raw influent, 2 of the raw influent pumps, motors, and check valves. That's $13,000. We can do, I had for 2 of them just because 2 of them I had records to be having been done in 2016 and 2017. The other 2, the only records I had were 1996 and 2009, so they're definitely due. If the budget only has it where I can do 1, I have 1 that I need done, but I really should have, I would hope to have 2 done. Replace lift, or pump number 2 for lift station number 4. The other one had just been done because it had failed this previous year, so that's just the matching pump. A new balance for Peggy because I think the one she has in the lab is running into calibration issues, or there's something, it's basically out of its lifespan. And she has some stir plates in there as well that are not working the way they should. The new lift station number 2, that got left out of the scope of work when we did this, and they did not include a generator outlet in the new wiring, so that was just a quote for Peeper to do it. There's a cold break switch they're just going to remove and replace with a manual transfer switch. I do need to update some paperwork, the CMOM paperwork, and I don't know if I can, I gotta look further into it if I can update that or if MSA has to update it, and as to how much that would cost. The DNR has told me that it's a program that's designed for the user to be able to modify. So if I get enough time, I should be able to do it, I hope. The problem is the existing one that we have was generated by MSA. So whether or not they'll give me the digital format to make it easy to modify or not, I doubt they will. So we'll kind of see how that goes. I had replace our final effluent sampler, which we had budgeted for this year. Peter just blatantly did not budget enough funds for it. And it looks like you don't have it included, you don't have it in here. Didn't I have $8,500 for that or something?
You had, yes you did, because it was
Okay.
carryover from this year and then it
Yeah.
was.
So Peter only budgeted $5,300, and that did not include a refrigerator or any necessary plumbing parts. So I think it was
$8,500.
$8,500.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to purchase a portable sampler that we could place into manholes to sample different industries in town. If, say somebody were giving us something that they're not supposed to, then at least we're able to sample them and monitor it effectively for that much. And then I guess maybe Dan can shed some light on fire hoses. The fire department doesn't trade out old hoses at all, do they?
Well, we have to retire some that don't meet the standards and
Okay.
whatever, but you need something, I'm sure we can. How many feet are you looking for?
I think I had, for that 2000, I think I had 5 sections of hose and a nozzle.
Okay, I can find, so
Because the ones we got are getting pretty ratty.
where did you get that number from?
That was just purchasing through
Oh, okay.
Blue Book.
No, I'm sure we can help you out with that.
Right. And just
Even
those-
if you don't wanna buy new hose,
Yeah, the
get
hoses
you
were-
some that's fairly new,
Because they were like $300 a piece,
Are you talking 1.75" or 1.5", or are you
Inch and a
talking?
half, I think.
1.5", okay.
And the nozzle was like $600.
Yeah, I think we can do it.
But
We always have it on our budget for each year, so we just purchase some additional, but I'll get you some pricing on that, so you know what it is.
that would be appreciated.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we also have on the last item on that is the miscellaneous equipment for 5,000 each, which I'm not sure what the difference is between the minor equipment on the top and miscellaneous equipment on the bottom, now that I look at it. If it's one and the same. I'll review that.
I guess before we move that page, the bucket truck, a surcharge,
Yes.
what are we talking as far as a surcharge? Do we have an order in for this truck at
Yeah,
this
we had to
time?
place the order.
So we have to pay an inflationary fee every year that goes by just because they can't supply us with the truck?
Yeah, I don't know, I think that when we placed the order, that the price was not held at that price, they couldn't hold the price
But I thought that
because,
was the whole point of us
Yeah.
ordering then, was to get the price held at that
That's
point,
right.
at that time.
the part of it was, that I recall, was that it took it over a year to have it made. That's why we
Well,
had
it was like
placed the
2
order
years.
right away.
Yeah.
But,
It was like 2 years, but we were putting it in, so we get on the list, and I thought that putting it in was, part of the reason of putting it in was, so we got
yes,
it at that
can-
price.
Yeah, okay, I will find out about that.
Or it wasn't just to get a spot in line, it was locking in.
Well, I thought we were locking in
I
a
thought
price,
we did.
that was my
Did we pay anything
understanding.
down, Laura?
No. No, they took it just for the purchase order.
Said existing
We can't
bucket
pay-
truck for a long time for.
We can't back out of that purchase order?
I can find out.
No, I'm not saying we want to. I mean,
Right.
that
I,
if we can't back out of it, then why would they charge you more?
Well,
If you're locked in like you.
Well, we could, technically, we can get out of it, but we've agreed to buy it, I mean,
Right.
and
But
until we
we-
tell them we're not buying
We
it.
didn't agree to.
But the
a-
thing about it is if we decide not to pay for, if we decide not to buy it, I'm sure they're gonna get more money than we told them we'd pay for it.
right.
Well, yeah.
And we didn't put anything down, so we wouldn't be out anything as far as that goes.
Right.
Yeah, Nick had done all of that, so I don't know what all the specifics were of the order. Okay, so on the next few pages, we have the O&M expenses and sales revenues summarized. And on the bottom is the bottom line for each of the departments for electric, water, and sewer. In our numbers, we do have, being that it's budget time, we do have the updated wages for what one of our items is on later with Nick. And also with the new wage scale for the wastewater treatment plant department. So those have been taken under consideration in the wages listed on these budgets. And also, because I haven't heard anything as far as what the cost of living increase may be, I went with a 4% just to make sure that it's high enough in case that would go through. And as you can see, our budgets do support that. And then on the last page, we have the budget summary shows the revenues for each department, the expenditures, the non-cash expense items for depreciation that gets added back in as far as cash flow item. So we do have positive amounts of cash to work with, even after the capital items that are listed on the first page. So our net cash after capital items We have 239,000 for electric, 303,000 for water, and 275,000 for sewer. Out of the sewer, we would also have to take out the 2008 Clean Water Fund loan payment, that's 58,000, and then I also show the repayment from sewer to water on there, sewer to electric. So the expected increase in cash is in that blocked section, which is better than last year. The other thing that is covered in the sewer expenses, on the O&M expenses, is the interest payments that are going to have to be made for the new Clean Water Fund loan, and that is $292,826. So that is already included in all those figures and deducted from the cash.
Does the repayment to the electric utility, does that make you whole then, or are you still owe?
No, there's still,
How many years is that strung out?
I want to say it was 10 more years maybe? 7 years?
And why wouldn't we be paying that up?
Because this is the way it's always done.
I don't want to hear that for an answer.
Answer A. I don't know.
What just kind of warps the return on each department because of the fact that when we deregulated the sewer utility, the whole thing was set up so that each utility stood on their own feet, what have
Right.
you. So now here, if we've got funds to pay the electric utility back, why wouldn't we be doing it sooner? Unless we're not paying any interest from one entity to the other.
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah.
We're not. And it hasn't been that we've been this cash fluent. in
Yeah,
the
we're
sewer,
not
so,
that liquid, but
but that's something that we can definitely look at.
I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Back to that first page, why can't you take that balance and surplus out of the DNR fund, replacement fund? Lab equipment is part of the treatment, and that's it.
Okay, one more time?
That balance and stirs that you had on there for the lab out at the treatment plant, couldn't you take that out of the DNR replacement fund?
Oh,
Or the treatment?
I'm not sure, because
So,
you had put that on.
The way I understand that the replacement fund works is that you have to, everything that you want to be able to replace has to be listed in it and being paid for along the way. So,
Well, and
it's,
there are regulations of what the DNR lets us. It's not only but goes by the list, but it's anything to do with the equipment in the wastewater treatment plant and also the lift stations. I don't know if minor things in the lab type stuff, if that's included or not. So I can look into that.
I know when we were going through and updating the replacement fund for the future with this plant upgrade, that it was only major equipment like pumps and
Right.
larger items.
You're using it to replace the effluent sampler. Why not the portable manhole sampler? That'd be to me, that's
Well,
pretty much.
Because we don't,
That's not part of the treatment
I was
plant.
gonna say, that would be new, I don't know if that would.
it's, and we don't have one.
You don't have
have
one, so
one,
that's
it has
not,
to
we're
go
not
to health
replacing
first.
one, we're buying
Yeah.
buying
Okay.
a new one.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Okay.
So that is the preliminary. That'll be a little more fine-tuned or something, I'm sure, we'll be voting on that in October. And that's all I have. I'm gonna be on vacation until next Wednesday, so, if anybody needs me, I'm not good, just as an update. We're going to be going camping in Upper Michigan, it's gonna be 40 overnight, so I'm not necessarily looking forward to that. But,
Tent or?
yep, we rough it.
Rather you than me.
Got my Dutch oven with my beef stew ready.
I was gonna say, take your
Cook
long
on the
johns
campfire.
and-
Okay. I talked to Shane today about what they've been doing. He has been keeping busy. I talked to Nick a little bit. He couldn't tell me a lot. He's been cleaning. The shop looks good, so I don't know what they've all been. I haven't been down here and
Yeah.
checking him on a daily basis, but
We had noticed that Nick too, we could actually call him Nicky, I guess. I call him Nick too, the apprentice. He does very well at keeping busy. And Joe had just asked him about a quote for something, and that's
cameras in the
cameras in the park.
and
Yeah, and
from
putting in the
our
electric for
communities.
that. So he drafted that all up today and asked me about pricing for equipment and billing charges and whatever, and the materials, and he's awesome. So, he's been doing a good job of keeping busy.
We've been.
And they did do some polls, I think.
Cameras we went through with, on this years ago. Previous mayor wanted it. It was shot down in, council shut it down. So I don't know.
There's monies available in the rec department to cover them, so.
I mean,
We trim back on the project right now. The project is they're gonna have a front end in the closet of the old bathrooms, and then they're gonna hard cable it to 3 poles in the park for surveillance of the playground equipment. Not include the community center at this time. It can be easily expanded, but I don't know why Nick would be spending all this time. We don't have anything to plow cable in. We would be referring that to Cook. Unless he's the conduit to go back to,
Yeah.
plowing conduit, that
Well,
would
he
be
still had the materials and the wire.
tearing up them
the
roots on the
conduit and stuff.
trees.
well, they wouldn't be going all that deep. If you get it down 18 inches, that'd be probably all they're gonna plow in, but yeah, that'd be, we don't have any equipment to do that, so, you know, it would be contracted out to Cook to get from A to B, so. And the cable they're going with is a direct burial Cat 6, so it's, you know, just a glorified phone wire.
Will they even bury it that deep down? Are they gonna do like the
Well-
doggone cable company and get it under the grass? and
Well, no,
that's
we
it?
like to do it a little bit better than the cable company, but, yeah.
Okay, so technically we have no real support.
No, we got no stake in the game, but I don't think the utility would be doing anything other than maybe providing bucket truck service to get the cameras mounted at the top
Well, I
of the
can,
poles.
let me get what he was working on. He's gave me a copy.
Because I know that was a real stickler. They showed us what the cameras could do, and pictures were cloudy.
No, they've come a long ways since, you know, those days, but yeah.
It's got some PVC pipe and HD pipe handholds, and using the air compressor, the mud sucker, the chop saw, and the trencher, and the skid loader.
Open trench.
So, unless they're not gonna hire cooks to do it, maybe, and just do it themselves.
Well, I guess they want to do an interdepartment thing, but sure as hell better be charging for it, I guess, and, you know, rather than giving it for free and,
Right, yeah, that's why he worked this up.
and, But yeah, Joe was directed to go to the cook to get an estimate for vibrating it in, so.
Okay. And that might be why he asked us to see if it's cheaper for this way, I don't know.
Okay, we will move on. Alex, check your voice.
I'll try. So, first we gotta take action on the change order as presented by Sherry.
So, okay. You've got the information, I guess, is there a motion?
I'll make one.
I guess I'll start by saying, the questions
take-
Dan asked was the exact same questions I asked.
Thank you.
And that's why I didn't want to show up and present this to you guys myself, because I had this exact same opinion. So I thought it should have been included in the spec, basically.
Well, she talked out of both sides of her face. She started talking that it was missed by the contractor, that it
Right,
probably
but
should have been included.
Well, then it means it was, if it wasn't on the plan, it was missed by MSA.
Right.
When
It
does
was-
MSA account, they continue to get their percentage. And now when I'm listening to her, we're getting charged for these extra reviews and stuff like that. Where does their 10% of all this money come from? You know, they're getting $1 million to do this project and whatever, and it seems like any time there's a little bit of extra work, including something they missed, we're getting billed for it. So that's why I wasn't pulling
No,
any punches with her. I thought, you know, she looked pretty stupid when she answered the second time around, like about, first she was telling it was contractor error for missing it, and then next thing she was,
MSA error.
next thing she was mopping up, well, yeah, he wouldn't have known, so.
Well, and that's why I didn't want to present it, because it was the preferred equipment. The spec should have been written to this equipment,
Right.
and it wasn't. It was a vague spec that said use appropriate amount of contacts. Well, you didn't. You should have just said 4.
Yeah.
And, you know, use the appropriate plugs and everything, and it should have been in there. But we've come across, I guess, a few things that, but, you know, then again, they're giving you the $50,000 on
Yeah, but
a
those were,
different error, so.
those were things that you caught.
So there's gonna be errors in both directions, she presented
seems
it
like-
as something that was optional, and it was not optional.
Yeah.
It was, you know, it's an over temp warning and a seal fail.
Like, it
Well,
seems like standard equipment in
it
your
is
type of
standard
business.
equipment.
That's why I
Without
asked.
question,
I
it's
said,
standard
you
equipment.
make it, you know, she was tippy-toeing all around my question,
Well,
and
and
that's when I said, well, it sounds to me like this is standard equipment for an operation like what you
It
have
is.
out there, you know.
It is without question.
Just burns my butt on this stuff
And
all the
that
time.
was why I didn't want to say it, because how do I get you guys to say, yeah, I'll spend an extra $9,000 on something that I don't think you should?
Right.
But
Unfortunately, it's,
unfortunately, this is where we are.
But we've already run in conduit already.
Yeah.
How do you do that kind of business? I don't, you know, that just blows my mind, you know.
Yeah. So, I ran it up Peeper's end, the same thing, and he said, well, you know, we already, you know, I said, shouldn't this be your responsibility? Shouldn't you have quoted this correctly? And he said, well, we already took a loss on 3 other things that we quoted wrong, so we can't lose on everything. So,
We already
they
took a
should've
loss on 3 other
did-
things we quoted wrong.
uh,
So,
Keeper
here's
ain't
the
losing
fourth
any- I'm
thing
here to
now
tell
you
you,
can add
Keeper
to your
ain't losing
list.
any money on this
No.
job.
no.
They're not losing any money.
No.
Basically,
The markup that they got on some of this stuff, it's just unreal.
that's just how these things go.
But I wasn't very impressed with her answers, quite frankly, you know, like I said, she started out blaming the contractor, and next thing she was covering for the contractor, so which is it, you know? Why
She's
why
covering
wasn't,
for-
why wasn't
she's
this
covering for-
designed?
She's covering
Covering
for
for
herself.
MSA, yeah. Why wasn't it designed into the spec in the first place? We pay $1 million to build a 12 million, well, more than $1 million to build a $13 million, because they're working off of a 10% front, if I remember right, so. That's a lot of money.
It was more than that. I think it was 15.
Oh, Jesus.
The total is 15, the loan is 12.
Well,
Yeah.
Right.
When does MSA start accounting for the miscues or the misses on the
I don't
thing?
know. So I know it wasn't free to have her here.
Well, the original contractor
It was-
was 13,300.
And if we've gotta pay for additional reviews because of,
So that, the way that works out is that we agreed for MSA to do 2 reviews per item, whatever it may be. And if Stobbs messes around and doesn't send appropriate things through concisely, and they have to review more than once, and they're charging labor. Well, so they bill that to us directly, but then in the end, it's all added up and it's billed to Stobb.
we're keeping track of that?
Yeah.
Or MSA
That
keeping
was
track
one
of
of
that?
those invoices that we had. You
Okay.
remember we talked about? Yeah.
MSA is running a run sheet for this, or is it up to us to run a run sheet?
They were doing it.
They're doing
We
it.
should,
We
both
better be
both
running-
of
we
us,
better
we should
be
be
doing
doing
it.
it too.
Yeah, we better be keeping track.
Right.
Yes.
And I don't get
There was
that
a
in.
$600 one, and the last invoice we went through for.
Yeah,
Yeah, we better be
was all
keeping
right
track.
at the
yeah,
bottom.
yeah.
You know, they sell their services in an all-inclusive deal, you know, package, you know. And then all of a sudden, now we're here, we had to review this more than twice we got figured for it. Well, I'm not buying that. I'm very disappointed. So.
So, I guess we have to take action on that.
And I guess the other question is, just because the DNR money that we're getting for the gas line coming from the road up to the, is all this going through their books again and getting marked up again as far as, I mean, you did all the legwork for the gas line there, just because we've got
Well,
the,
and
we're
I
getting
don't
some
know.
DNR money to go
Are
from
they-
the road
is-
in.
is-
It probably isn't even a wash by the
is-
time we get all done, you know.
If we're using their funding, we're using their engineering, they're taking their cut. Yep.
And where were they in getting this off ground zero? It was all the phone calls you made.
Oh, I don't know, doesn't the gas company run it from the road to the,
Well, yeah, but they'll be paying for
We give
it.
you 100 feet free, and we're.
well, but we're paying for the gas company, but the gas company's gonna run the line.
Right,
Right. Right.
So all they're doing
is funding from the road in.
cutting a check to the
Yeah.
doggone,
Yeah. I just,
A
I
lot-
don't
a
buy that
buy-in.
stuff.
And then they'll get their 15% of that check.
And in case anybody else taps on along the way, they'll take their cut too.
no, we paid for that, that was totally separate.
Yeah.
The Alliant will handle that.
That-
Alliant
that-
should be
we
saying-
paid that out
Alliant-
of, we
Alliant
paid that
will-
directly to Alliant.
Alliant
That
will be
was-
paying us back if
Yeah.
it, but it's,
Yeah.
now it's down to 5 years, because it used to be a 7-year window
I
at one time.
recall correctly, it's maybe something like that.
Yeah. Year 6, everybody will jump on
Annex some of the town south of here and, get somebody to build some houses quick.
it. You're surrounded by nails, it's ain't gonna happen.
So, what is your pleasure?
You're stuck.
I don't think we have a choice, so I did make a motion.
All right, there's a motion by Bart. We need a second.
Second.
Second by Ross to approve the change order. Is there any more discussion?
Yeah,
Or you have more discussion on
I
this?
have more items, not on that item, sorry.
Oh, no,
Oh,
they
we
have
gotta
to
vote
do,
for that
they have
one,
to
yeah.
vote.
Okay,
Oh, sorry.
okay, we'll forgive you this time.
Why'd a couple of you to vote no?
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. How's that?
There you go.
4-1?
One negative.
Gotcha.
You're next.
So, next I have, to discuss changes to the well 3 generator project. I guess I believe Dan, you're partially aware of the issues we ran into. I put together the load list for sizing the generator initially. And just in getting quotes, I spec'd out what voltages to spec the generator at. In my less than infinite knowledge, I grabbed the voltages from each lead between the bus and ground. And I had 120 and 208 and 120. So out of my list of available voltages, I thought 120, 208. Well, electricians shall know that that is just 240 delta, because you're supposed to take the reading between phases and not between phase to ground. So we have two options. The generator is rewirable if we wanted to stick with the 240 volt system. We can just have the generator wired to 240, but then we would have to get a different transfer switch because it operates the wrong voltage. The other option is we can actually switch to 12208 and change the transformer out. Nick said we do have that transformer in stock, and he has no qualms with using it, and it could be part of his normal operation and budget. So if we were to stick with the 240 volt system, it would cost us $6,200. $6,200, and then Cummins can try to resell our transfer switch.
I don't understand why that transfer switch isn't rated for either or.
It's rated, but it's calibrated wrong. So they'd have to buy a different screen, basically, and they don't.
Well, stick with the 12208. Nick's biggest concern is we've got the siren up at the north end, next to the well there on the west side of town there. That's also fed off this transformer.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I was reasonably sure, though it's an ancient piece of equipment, it's gonna run off the 208 voltage and what have you. And if it's not, we'll do something with that siren
So
motor.
I did take the bucket truck up there this week. And I got a picture of the nameplate on the motor, if it makes a difference on that end.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a 230 460 rated motor.
Yeah. But like I said, you're within the
We're good for 10%.
10% per drop. And it's not like it's under stress. That thing
Right.
that
It
thing
runs
is just a freewheeling.
once a year.
Yeah, and well, that one blows
Every day at noon.
every noon, or not,
That one
every
does-
Saturday it blows. It
Oh,
doesn't blow at
Saturday.
noon. This is the only one that blows at noon.
Oh, great.
But the one out there blows every Saturday with the other two, or whatever. But I told them not to worry about that. They says, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I don't think it's gonna be an issue.
Our well provider said it's no problem on their end. And the air compressor is rated for that as well, so. It shouldn't be a problem on any of the equipment if we just do a complete changeover,
Yeah.
change in voltage. And Nick said it was,
How many Delta services are there in town?
We've got a few, not many. You got your wild leg you gotta contend with, so that's why you wanna make sure all that new equipment inside that well room, you don't wanna have a potential of things getting wired over on that wild leg. So going to 12208 is the way to go.
Yeah.
so,
That's what I told him when he told me.
Yeah.
He told me what he had to read. I said, oh, you got
That's-
I like Delta.
it was an error on my part.
Well, lots of electricians have made the same error.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
blown lots of stuff up, so.
So, but,
Lots.
Yeah,
A lot of them can't figure out why they can't get 120 off a grounded B phase.
Yeah, like that, well, a lot of them try. That's the problem, they try and
Well,
they,
this is single phase, there's a bare wire.
Do we need any action on that? So we're gonna stay with what we,
there wasn't additional,
No.
there additional
He
cost?
can just do it. No.
Okay,
He said he
Okay.
can do it as part of his operations, so then
okay, so
no.
changing over the panel to 120 isn't gonna cost us any extra either?
So I'm told.
Okay.
Well, it should be universal.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do anything?
No.
Okay.
All right,
You learned a valuable lesson, always measure between the lines, not the ground.
Well,
A lot of people do, a lot of people do both.
yeah,
Well, yeah.
yeah, and then actually every one of our lift stations is Delta 240, 240.
Yep.
So, and that's the goofy part is our portable generator, that red generator, is 12208. So tell me how that works.
Well, that portable one wasn't made for the wells, that was made
No.
for you running your lift stations.
But the lift stations are all the same
Oh,
thing.
yeah,
So, if it works, it works.
Yeah.
I guess, but anyhow.
so, rough her up a little faster.
Okay, so now, my largest item to talk about. I have a handout.
It's always bad when there's a handout.
Yeah, it always takes more time.
It's more than one page, dude.
Hope you don't have COVID, you sound very bad. Or is that just having a baby in the house?
Daycare.
Daycare, there you go. Okay.
So, the last page of this handout is the letter we received from DNR. Talk about our corrosion control for more or less because of our lead that's in town. Now, we have two options. One would be to treat with orthophosphate, and the other would be to get all the lead out on time. Now, we need to do a year of sampling after either option that we would choose. So, my question, I guess, to commission is, do we think we're gonna have all of Oak Street done to Main by next fall? Now, I know Fair to Depot, we are planning on,
Right.
but the Main Street section, that first block would be my concern.
Well, you've got, oh no, the service laterals still have to be, you didn't do them from the
Public side needs,
The public side still's gotta be done. Well, you don't have that many left, do you?
I didn't even count, I think it's.
Because some of them you did go to
We
the
did
main.
some, yes.
But you can't have but 7 of them at the very most, huh?
What's more than that?
God, you only got about a dozen properties there, and you've got at least 5 rumble strips there, don't you?
I don't know. I would have to look, I guess I don't know what's in the works.
Silk is fed off the backyard.
That's on a ductile, they have fire protection.
Off the backyard.
No, it's in the front,
Is it in the front? Okay.
but it's a 6-inch line. 6-inch line.
Right. Now, when you did, the ones you did do, you went to Maine. Okay, if you haven't got, if you got silks off the next 2 properties off the page, didn't you do the barrel house, the one that's closed? Next 2 properties ran from one building to the other. In other words, from the old City Federal building, it ran from the hardware store into that. So those 2 laterals have been replaced. So the next one would be the barrel house and the old Alice's restaurant.
So I think we need, what's 124? So, so after the house you're working on now,
Yeah,
what's that one?
that could be
That
close.
would be one of them. I think we did the barrel house.
Yep.
I think there's a,
So the restaurant, the old restaurant, the house there.
yep, that one. And
Then the next would be Ferrari's building there that they sold it, of course, now.
And
Yeah.
just one service wood into them buildings?
Yep.
Right.
Then comes Zindar's building. And then the bowling alley's been done.
Tattoo, is it tattoo? Oh, what? That was a jewelry store.
Jewelry store, yeah.
Jewelry store, the Simple Bar, the Legion,
Legion,
then the old drugstore.
that's the tattoo or no?
Yeah.
Laundromat
Laundromat.
in the 1850s. 1850s has been done.
1850s has been done.
Somebody
Nice.
tallying.
So you only got about 7 of them that might count.
That was
I thought
okay.
1850s was done.
1850s is done.
I thought you said it wasn't.
And the bowling alley, or the laundromat's gotta have a larger service that went out to the stop, but I don't know whether it went out to the, if that was ever opened up to the main or not, because that's gotta have at least, I think it was on your list of 1.5 or 2 inch meters, wasn't it?
I don't, I'd be lying
Yeah,
if I said.
So anyway, you think the barrel house was done? So from Silk down to the barrel house, they're all done. So then the old restaurant there, that one's gotta be done. Then Ferrari's building right next to the old restaurant's gotta be done. And then Zinder's building's gotta be done, that's 3. Then the bowling alley is done already. Then the old jewelry store is done, or isn't done, that's 5. Then the Simple Bar is 6. And then the Legion is 7. And I don't know what's,
Up at
Across
the,
the road.
up at this
You got one extra,
office.
didn't
You got one in extra. Yeah, there's 6.
What about the laundromat?
that's what I'm saying, that should have had a larger service in it, but I
We
don't
don't
remember
know-
if that
we
would
don't
have.
know about the laundromat, so we'll add that one.
It sure wouldn't have made sense to run 2 inch from the stop in and not have 2 inch feet in there.
There was-
They must have opened up the street way back when.
1850s done, there was
There's
another one that they did not far
North side of
out.
the street.
Well, then Ferrari's building that we're talking about next to the old restaurant, that was a laundromat at that, prior to the laundromat moving down the street, so that one might have a full-size 2 inch service into it too or something, but
What about the hepatitis office, the CPA?
that's part of that Ferrari building.
Part of that?
That's one service, and there used to be a laundromat in there for a period of time, so I'm guessing that one was probably.
So what are we looking at a cost to change up one of those?
Well, we could, is there still, or is there monies that they were pursuing on the public side? I thought that was something that was
I
under
wasn't made aware
investigation.
of that.
Well, I thought MSA told us that there was monies out there
It was
now for the
for-
public side.
2020, nobody put anything in for this year. You have to do it like a year or 2 prior or something. I
Well,
think
this
that
would be
was-
the year, we'd have to do it this year to get it done in '25.
Yeah, we gotta get it done now.
I thought I remember MSA saying that we didn't have coverage for the public stuff.
I don't think public side.
Well, I asked them about that. I'm sure they said that there was, that Nicole was the one that was supposed to be researching it.
That was Brittany, or Britta at MSA. And she did put something in spring for next year. Was it next year or 2025? I thought she said it was. I'll verify.
Isn't the deadline the end of 2025?
I need it done by next year.
From the
24.
DNR requirements.
'Cause I need time to
Due date for
sample.
this installation is August 8th of 25, it says there.
So that's for water treatment, the backside highlighted section.
And the monitoring requirements have to be done by August of 2026, August 8th of 2026.
Oh, by 2025, it's gotta be done by, so basically we got a year to get those services either changed out from lead to something else, or
'Cause I
we
need
have to put
complete
this,
2
where we have to
rounds-
put this
2
corrosion.
rounds of 6 months worth of sampling prior to August 8th of '25.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, we have to have it done,
By August of
24.
24.
we have to have it done by August 8th of 24. We either have to have we either put this chemical thing in, or we get rid of the lead.
Right.
I guess, how much is how much is the chemical thing gonna cost?
So that's one option. And an additional benefit to it is that while we're there, we can change some other things in the well house to also minimize or try to help our chlorine smell and taste in the water too. But the problem is if you're updating your well houses, you need to bring them up to code. So just adding the chemical wouldn't be that much. But just to bring it up to code, like, so if we were gonna do the changes, it's $44,000 worth of equipment. But I have to have safety showers that are tempered.
So you're looking at a water
Safety shower,
heater
you're talking a
and
big water heater and an 1.5-inch service.
do you need a big water heater, or can you just use a on demand?
It's a big on-demand heater.
No, I know.
You could, yeah.
But that's just for the
The
shower
thing is with an
thing?
on demand is it's not sitting there all the time running.
Right.
5 years are choked off.
So that's the problem with doing this plan is, I mean,
Oh.
just the equipment was 43,000, but I figured by the time you get the showers put in, you're easily at 85.
And how much is it gonna cost to dig up the street and do 7 services?
They're about 8,000 a piece, I think, is what Town and Country charged on them.
You paid
For
a
the
lot
equipment?
for asphalt.
Well, I was just thinking of a lateral.
Right.
But yeah, so 8 times 7 is 56 as a minimum, and then asphalt and,
That's something that has to be done anyways.
Now, the lead we should be getting rid of that lead anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
What about going over to the, does it go the other way too, like to the?
Miller Street?
Yeah,
We could cut that main off, there's no.
but does it go to the Miller's?
Yep.
Car dealership?
Yep, he's another one.
Is,
And the Rolling Stone would be another one too.
Rolling
Forgot about
Stone's
that.
got that one?
Rolling Stone's got like an 1.5-inch meter in there too, or an inch meter.
So that's
Inch
9.
meter. But they got a big, the Rolling Stone's got like a 2-inch water service coming in that building, it's pushed down to 1 inch. So, anyway, what you should be doing, we should be tagging this on as an extra to the project we got going then this year.
If you can do that.
Well, we did receive notice that we are getting the CDG money. So now, as of August, we've got the confirmation from them. Megan's filling out the paperwork. So we do have the outside funding for our end of things. But that's paying the Bacon Davis labor rate because of the funding and what have you.
Right.
Well, we might be better served just looking for a private contractor to bid that out accordingly. We'll get MSA to do up a bid spec or something like that to replace these services, whether it can be tagged onto this independently without screwing up the thing that we got going right now, and avoid the Bacon Davis rate or whatever, because it's not that big a project, you know. I mean, it's gonna tie up the downtown for a solid week,
Yeah.
solid 2 weeks by the time you put everything all back together. But we're gonna have rumble strips until such time that we blacktop the rest of it, or we bite the bullet and pay the patchwork and whatever. But at least you're between parking lane and curb. You know, at least you know you're set up that you're crossing that street, but at least you're not jumping another curb, you know, to get to your water service and whatever. So
What about the old courthouse in the square?
that's fed off at 26.
So that's been done.
Well, then you gotta do up to the curb valve, so you're gonna have some sidewalk.
Yeah. The sidewalk along that street is junk.
Yeah.
No, there's no two ways
Yeah.
about that.
So I guess the one nice part is I did want to address this chlorine issue because that's
Not a complaint.
a lot of complaints. So the issue is that we only feed chlorine prior to our iron filters. Oh, okay, I'll back up before that. I guess we've gotten a good amount of complaints from everybody. That's our biggest complaint for the water department. And that we need to, the DNR wants us to get 0.2 of chlorine to our dead ends. Now, the entire town isn't used to that, and because they never sampled at the dead ends. Now the DNR is making us actually sample at the dead ends. So they were always taking a chlorine sample out of the well house and saying, oh, I have 0.2, so we're good. Well, surprise, we don't have that anywhere else. So they want us to get 0.2 to the dead ends. We're not doing that. We're not even close to that. We're mandated to have a measurable amount of chlorine to our dead ends. We are flirting, even with what I'm putting in now, we're flirting with not having a measurable amount at the dead ends. It's more so, yeah, especially in like the end of July, August, we've basically had no chlorine at the dead ends.
What are you classifying the dead end?
So far north end of Fairfield,
Where we don't have them looped?
where it's not looped, correct. So we have to measure chlorine at any dead end pipe. So I'm getting basically no chlorine to the ends of the system. And we're putting in we're at break point, if you know the science behind it. We're putting it in the way we're supposed to. We're putting in at 0.8, and so we're not putting in a ton. But the problem too is that we only put chlorine in ahead of our iron filters. So that chlorine has to go through all the media within the filter, which consumes the chlorine prior to leaving the building, which is actually, more people I talk to is, most people dose either both before and after, or only after. So I'm actually putting in 4.5 parts of chlorine just to get 0.8 out the back end. I'm getting a very inconsistent amount out the back end just because you're going through the filter with it. So what I want to change is I will not only dose chlorine ahead of the filter, but I dose chlorine after the filter as well, and do the majority of my treatment after. Chlorine does function to oxidize iron, so we do have to add some ahead of the filter just to keep the filter working. But we're adding way too much to get any performance out of it on the back end for disinfection in the system. So,
You can't chlorinate remotely any place, you gotta do it at the well.
Yeah.
Well, that sure is asinine. Ross, wasn't our original problem, we used to chlorinate on the back side of the iron removal, and then when we moved it to the front side, that's when we had all kinds of issues throughout town.
Yeah, the over-chlorinated is what happened.
Yeah.
I remember this one was, we couldn't make water, I know that.
That's the only dead end main we got, isn't it?
I can think of.
East Center Street, East Oak Grove.
East Center Street.
It's looped, but east of
East of East Street.
East Street.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
that is, yeah.
Short ones, Mayfair, a couple other short ones.
I thought Mayfair was tied over to West Street.
But
No, it's tied over to Center Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Not
is.
that end of it. Am I thinking
No.
wrong? Not,
Mayfair is down by the library there.
no, not Mayfair then.
Okay. Because Mayfair is tied over to Center Street.
The end of Victory. East end of Victory.
Okay, that one down off of what do they call that street around the corner from you, Dick?
Cottonwood or
No, Cottonwood is the,
Cottonwood.
Cottonwood is the cul-de-sac, around the corner by your neighbor, in front of
May
Nelson's
something.
duplex.
Meadow
Meadow?
Meadow Lane?
Lane or something like that.
I don't know, I used to live there.
Anyhow,
Anyway,
so,
Okay.
in talking with the engineers for our corrosion control study and our chemical supplier that we work pretty closely, the hope is that we can dose a lot less chlorine and still get a free chlorine residual coming out, and the hope is that that would overall help our taste and odor issues. And the advantage of adding these phosphates as well is that it works by coating the insides of the pipes. So in doing that, your chlorine will actually make it through the system a lot more effectively. So they've actually had municipalities that are dosing less and still maintaining residual further out because it's not being consumed by the pipes as much along the way. So that's the benefit of adding the phosphates as well. So they kind of work together in that sense, in that we're hoping to minimize how much chlorine we're dosing and then get it to the ends of the dead ends effectively. Try to fix this problem. To do it, we have to do these well house modifications that are going to cost. Well, and frankly, having a safety shower is probably not the worst thing anyway, but it's very expensive. And I don't have an actual quote for the safety showers yet because I just put this together in the last 2 weeks. So that was just a guesstimate with working with our one mechanical provider. So I'm leaning towards wanting to treat the water and then hopefully kill a couple birds with the same stone. And then it doesn't make us hurry to get the lead out as much, and we can maybe lump that in with a repaving project or something else. And do it in a little more time.
But you're 100%
Moisten
certain
place
we
much.
have all the lead laterals with the exception from Main to Fair Street after we get done from Depot to Fair?
No.
But,
The private side, yes.
right,
Yeah. Based on everything that I know, yes.
right.
Public side, we're going off of what MSA's, what I've been told along the way.
Well, I can't think of any place else we would have potential for having it. I think we've updated everything.
I mean, if we treated it, it would buy us leeway as well,
Yeah.
you know, if there were misses. But
So if we get everything done, from Depot all the way up to Main Street this next year, and you still get high readings,
so then you do have to treat, yes.
then you get, well, I would certainly.
I would hope that you don't.
Well, then it sounds like maybe
I would-
unfortunately, we need to do both, get rid of the lead and do
Well,
this.
I would do the lead first and then,
I would hope that you don't,
But you-
because, you know, all that's left is lead solder and galvanized pipe.
yeah.
You shouldn't, but I can't promise you anything.
I don't know if these other communities are just ignoring this. I'm working in Watertown and
Well, there's tons of lead there.
So,
there's all kinds of lead and nobody seems to be doing nothing
so
about it or
the catch with that is the more I'm finding, almost everybody treats with phosphates already.
Oh,
So that's why it's not an issue, is because they're just already doing it.
but it's an added expense.
It is.
I guess if you're as big as Watertown, you wanna take on every damn lead service in there, you can only imagine. But now I'm talking my exposure to it is on the private side. And nothing's been done over there. I mean, I jump from community, from
They're all over.
house to house and
My parents,
nobody's doing anything.
my parents' house has a lead
Yeah.
service in it.
So, what's their two set of standards? I mean, we busted our butt over these last
Yeah.
decades to improve our system and what have you.
So that was,
We're always conscientious about dead-end mains, but as you see, there's just a couple of them that it was just too
And
costly
it's-
to do anything.
the other
with.
half of it too is that we're put on this timeline because we got bad lead results. So if they were using phosphates along the way, didn't get any bad results, they didn't get put on the timeline because their water wasn't corrosive. We got one bad set of sampling, we got put on a timeline.
Well, I think first step for the commission to do is focus in on that remaining block and either have MSA draw up a spec or consult with them and say, hey, can we do this as a tag-on with the other two blocks without, see that we're kind of dancing in a touchy area because we're kind of focused just on these two blocks. They told us that last block would not qualify because of the courthouse being on one side of it. A public entity can't, because otherwise we could have probably continued that block grant right up the street, because there's a lot of people living in those second story places that are lower income or whatever, but you gotta get a list together on which ones you have left.
Right.
And we just have to assume that the ones, they dig down by the,
At a
By
minimum,
the-
it needs to be excavated just to verify.
yeah, if they dig down by the laundromat and
Yeah.
they did, I don't know how they couldn't have, they had to upsize the water service for that, so they must have went right to the main on that one. And likewise at the building that Ferrari used to own there, the one that's got,
Used to be the tanning salon?
yeah, tanning salon and whatever, that's got a big water service in it too, because that was a laundromat for a period of time,
You
so.
can't get up to Mill Street?
What's
Because
that?
there's apartments, you can't get up to Miller Street with the grant money? You got
No.
apartments above, I mean, I think you'd be able to get to the corner.
Well, I asked about that too, we'd get the next half block, but they said no. That's, I guess you don't do half blocks. That's the 100 block from Main Street down to Fair Street.
So
The
it's a whole-
200 blocks from Fair Street down to Mill Street, and
Okay.
then from Mill Street down to Depot Street's the 300 blocks.
All right, I
So,
understand.
yeah, they defined them in blocks, they can't bust them up in half, so. But I would think that would be the thing we should pursue, is looking at adding on to this project if we can. If not, it's gonna have to be a standalone project. I don't know if it's gonna be all that bad. If you get a somewhat accurate list, a couple of them that were unknown, they'll have to do a pilot dig and say, hey, this one's fine, this is
It's just the
copper.
hard part is it's 24 inches of concrete and asphalt
Yeah.
mixed together, and water mains on the far side of the road, but
Yep,
Yeah.
that's,
yeah, layered
That's how it works.
construction. So I gotta say, the ones that were done pretty efficiently. They did a pretty good job getting them changed
Yeah, they-
out and whatever, so,
yeah, they weren't cheap.
no.
I'm not gonna be cheap.
Do we have a good idea for how much the ones we did do costed us?
For the
For
laterals,
town and country and then asphalt?
I
That was
don't
like
recall.
$30,000 worth of asphalt.
Yeah, 34,000 rings a bell for some reason.
And then
Take it-
Paczynski was
that'll
at
take too long.
$27,000 for concrete.
But now you were saying it was like $8,000 for the public side? Cause the private side got covered. Of course, that was 8 feet
Well,
of
some them were
digging.
less than-
Yeah, it averaged, because I think one of them was
Some were more and some were
almost
less.
10 for some reason. But I want to say the average was like $7,700.
Oh, but then you're adding $60,000 between asphalt and concrete,
Yeah.
so.
I don't think that was that much.
Yeah, you got,
So was the Paczynski was 27,000.
the private side of most of those things were 10, 12 feet to get into their building.
Yeah.
The stops are in,
Yeah.
2 and 3 feet off the curb. So the longest run was the public side, going from the shut off up to the, maybe we
So, and
moved,
that's the problem is
those
that-
shut offs 5 feet from the,
That's
from the
what
main.
helped us too, though, is that DNR was paying $5,500 to subsidize our city side.
Yeah.
Because overall, the contractor, the job was how much it was. Now we're not getting those extra $5,500 a piece either. So I mean, we can't estimate really that well what it's gonna be, but I think you're gonna be, I think you're looking at 15 grand a piece for sure.
If it's $150,000, so be it.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta get it down to there.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing, is if we treat the water, I think,
But
I
you
just think
pushed, excuse me, but you pushed on all the private side, right? That had to be done, got done on the
Yeah.
private side?
private side's done.
Okay. All right.
Yep. So I just think if we treat the water, at least it buys us time to do it either the right way or budget funds to do it, you know. And then we also get the advantages of higher, better water quality. Hopefully.
So as soon as we can get a finalized list of what properties need, I would suggest we try to get it all done.
So try to get a better, more or less a better comparison budget number.
Yeah.
So then I can say for sure how much these eye wash stations will cost.
And,
safety
yeah.
showers, and then for sure
How much it would cost to do, I mean, we might as well do I'm thinking to do the laterals too as much as we can. I know it's expensive, but,
You're gonna get cheaper.
you know, yeah, the price isn't coming down, it's only going up.
Sounds like we're down to less, 9 or less, and that compared to 50 or more.
More than that.
So we're doing good.
All right, so until we can, if need be, we can always get a meeting to do it. And we'll check and see if we can somehow,
I'll talk to Lau about tagging it on, or if that should be a stand aside, that way then you know where you're at on that, then it'd be a separate bid. I mean, we're looking to get something going here. As soon as we set budget to move forward and get bids advertised so we can get right out of the blocks come spring and get those 2 blocks done, then, you know.
yeah. All right,
Oh. Sorry.
Keep it moving, Alice, come on.
There's the 2-hour limit now.
Project update. Sorry, would you like to read this?
I can? As long as I can keep it and I can use my minutes.
That's fine.
Okay. On Tuesday, August 15th, we received a call from a concerned customer noting water seeping out of the roadway on Highway 26 near Western Avenue. This was shortly after heavy rainfall, but was an odd location for groundwater to come out of the roadway as it is elevated over the surrounding areas. After giving it 3 days to dry up on its own, we had American Leak Detection come to verify that it wasn't a water main break. They were unable to find any evidence of a leak. The water dried up on its own a few days later. Is that the one that's over by the school?
Yeah.
I had talked to Peter about this, wow, last spring maybe, or summer.
Same spot, probably.
Yeah, and I said, why is there always, because I drive over that, and I said, why is there water over there? And he goes, I don't know, we're not valve there. So it was nothing, but yeah,
Apparently this has happened
it
before.
happens all the time. It does, yeah, I can verify that, because I go by it, it's a couple times a month probably. While doing routine manhole inspections on the far northern end of Fairfield Ave, we found a manhole that was backed up and barely flowing. Wednesday, August 23rd, we had the city of Mayville come out and clean this short section of sewer. While jetting, the operator ran into multiple obstructions upstream from this manhole as well. The section had been cleaned and televised in April of 2022 and had nothing noted as out of the ordinary at that time. We will send a letter to residents on this small section of sewer reminding them of what is flushable. On Thursday, August 17th, Sunsient had a series of spills on their production line. One major spill of 3,000 gallons of concentrated product got dumped into Sensient's water plant. We're told this was the equivalent of 20 truckloads of the hauled waste they process. Multiple smaller spills also occurred around the same time. These spills created major issues for their treatment plant and eventually started to affect our plant starting Sunday, August 20th. We first noticed that this was a major issue when we found their phosphorus from that day was 13.6 mgl. On that basis, I sent them a strongly worded email with a 24-hour notice of disconnect. Since that time, Jim Vermillion got involved, and we've had lots of meetings and discussions. I visited their treatment plant a number of times to provide them with suggestions and input. Once we were aware of the magnitude of the issues they were facing, we kept a close watch on our plant to make sure we didn't violate our permit. They purchased permanently mounted DO monitoring equipment and COD testing equipment to help monitor our processes in real time. Being well beyond the severe surge category, all extra expenses will be billed directly to Sensient. My preliminary calculations come up to $43,000 in penalties for this incident. That first day of the incident, Sensient sent us 993 pounds of BOD. We then allowed them to give us 550 pounds per day, even though their agreed upon maximum reserved capacity is 190 pounds. We have not had any violations on our permit from this incident. Monday, 8/28, Saville Mechanical installed our lift station number 1 pump, which was serviced and received new bearings and seals. Thursday, 8/31, Klecker started installation of the new furnace at well number 3. Tuesday, 9/5, Intercon has begun boring natural gas lines to the treatment plant. We have heard from at least one resident that they will be connecting onto it. Yay! We did purchase a partial load of propane to get us through when the new HVAC equipment is to be installed. Until then, okay. What is the formal process behind selling the existing tank when the time is appropriate?
Yeah, can I just sign a bill of sale, or do I need to formally prove it, or does it have to go to auction?
For selling the existing tank.
Where do you get that tank from, Russ? The LP tank?
Oh, I think. They took it from somewhere.
So I do have
Who's our provider now?
Walters Gas out of Beaver Dam. So I do have a offer to purchase for $5,500, and then contingent that they would purchase up to 20% of gas back that is in the tank.
How big a tank is it?
12,000.
Well,
Yeah, we had to buy our own tank, right?
yeah.
At one time, we leased the tank with the supplier, right? Then we had to buy our own tank for some reason. What was the deal with that?
I said, well, what the big tank is, what's cheap.
Well, that's the one we're selling.
Tank.
So can I sell it, basically, is the question?
Yeah.
I
Does
don't
he
think
need
we
any
put it out
formal
for sealed
approval, or-
bids or anything like that. I don't think that would be the
I
case.
think we did, with the truck that time, we let them sell it,
Yeah, because, Nick had sold something that
I
he
believe.
just got
Was it-
pricing from people, and
We had a pickup truck that we
You
sold
guys,
that
just somebody approached you on this, or?
The Walters Gas, our gas provider. I approached him, basically asking if he would be interested.
What do you offer? What is his offer?
5,500?
5,500, yeah. And that was, originally he offered 2,500. I had a national provider that just has a website, fancy website, offer me $5,400.
And then he
Said,
came
"Well,
around and offered
Can you beat
55.
that?
You must have a place for it.
Well, I'm just wondering, where else would you reach out?
Yeah.
I reached out to all the big propane providers in the area.
Okay.
And how much time do you want to spend in
Yeah.
labor to
Right.
keep reaching out if we got an offer?
Right.
I don't know if that's market or not, I don't have a clue what the tank is worth. It's not new anymore.
It's
I don't.
built in 1964, so.
Yeah, they just re-inspect them.
Yeah, and then with, part of the contract is it's,
Pressure test.
they do all the decommissioning, transport, rigging, everything, so.
So what'd you say about the product that was left in the tank?
They'll purchase up to 20% back as well.
Up to 20%.
He wants to fit it all in one truckload of his smaller trucks.
What percentage are we at now?
About 60. Because we're not, Staub advised us that we're not gonna do HVAC until spring. So,
we got another winter.
Get through winter.
That'll take it down below 20 then, right now?
that's the goal. I sure
Be
hope
nice
so.
and warm in that end, at the very end. Burn up that
Yeah.
gas.
So,
Okay, so he's able to just go ahead and do that? Do we
I-
need to have a formal thing or not?
we can give you the okay to sell it. I mean, that's no problem. I
Can't
Don't
sell
see
it,
any
can't
of
sell it yet.
can't, you know, when you can sell it at that time.
Right, so he just wants to know
If he's getting it,
if he's getting it or not, basically.
yeah.
Take the-
I have
take the
no
money
problem
out?
with it. I mean,
I don't have a problem.
anybody,
I don't have a problem with it.
Dick?
That's
Because he wants to purchase another property and then have it ready to be moved there.
He wants to know that, but he isn't gonna give you any money until he has it, so.
Right.
Anything could happen.
I suppose we have them write up a,
I have a formal offer to purchase.
so you got it in writing.
Is he gonna put
already.
any money down on it?
Hmm?
Does he wanna put any money down on it?
Oh,
Then we sell it to the next size bidder.
Why
You
is
see
it-
what they did with the truck?
Yeah,
the
really,
bucket truck.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna cost you $7,500 because we had to hold on to it for years.
All right.
But then,
So,
the,
Okay, so,
the sensing ordeal was, that was pretty bad. That was, I mean, they were discharging, that first day was more than 5 times what they're allowed to before we shut them off, so.
I asked Alex what the new plant would be, when he told me that, when I stopped down there one day, would the new plant be able to handle it? And he said no. We would only know about it a lot sooner. That's the advantage of the new plant, is we would know that they screwed up a lot sooner than we knew this time. Those new plants still wouldn't be able to handle what they threw at us.
No, it was very bad. So, and we can say from experience that anyone else that previously sat in my chair would not have worked with them the way I did. So, I gotta hope that at least the city wants to work with the customer and work through the issues, so we made it through, their numbers are coming back down.
Unless I get out of here,
We're hoping that they're coming around and that we can,
Good day for a walk.
we can bill them appropriately and make everybody come out in the end.
okay.
he just had, the last item was, Nicholas started on Tuesday the 15th, and he's doing well and picking up on all the daily activities very well.
Our new employee.
Working
All
on it.
right. Anybody have any questions for Alex? Okay.
Mr. President.
Okay. Need a motion to appoint Shane Donegan as the interim electric superintendent, effective 8/15/23, at a wage increase of $1. We did this once before. We authorized a wage increase for the interim superintendent, but we didn't specify who it was. Even though we only have
It
one,
was
I
assumed.
argued that we only have one person that could have been, I lost out.
It
So,
wasn't, yeah, it wasn't documented properly.
it wasn't, we didn't document it correctly. So I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
Kind of
So,
redundant.
yeah, well,
It isn't, I know,
Okay, We're going through some emotions here. It's
Yeah.
just one of those deals, you gotta go through the motions.
so,
So we have to vote on that?
okay, is there any discussion?
so he gets his dollar, his extra dollar for the time that he spent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We get it in
It's
2
like
weeks.
3 weeks?
Yeah, 3 weeks or something like that, so. So, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I will read the resignation letter. To whom it may concern, please accept this letter as a formal resignation letter from my position as journeyman lineman at Juneau Utilities, effective 2 weeks from today's date, August 28th, 2023. I appreciate the opportunities for growth and development you provided during my time here. Sincerely, Shane Donegan. He's gone,
Friday. the
Friday.
8th, day
Yeah.
after tomorrow.
So we
This is
will
last
be
week.
without a superintendent for a week.
Need to vote on that,
Yeah.
or?
We need to have a motion to accept his resignation.
Question, now, you paying him for beyond Friday?
Mm-mm.
No,
This is official.
it's his official date.
Last day
Okay.
is Friday.
I talked to him today, he gave me some options that Hartford would be willing to send somebody over to, if we run into problems or something like that. I talked to Nick and he said that he's aware of it, he would call somebody, he would get everything set up so we could have somebody from Hartford come over, because he's not qualified to do some of the stuff. But he'd get it all set so that guy could
If we have
spend.
any emergencies or issues.
He's not qualified to even do secondary work because he hasn't.
I mean, he
started
can
apprenticeship yet.
trench in some,
Yeah, he can do
you know,
that,
get
but
the
he
power.
can't touch, he
Yeah.
can't touch anything energized.
Yeah, I know, he knows it, and so,
Do we have to remove his interim superintendent label as of Friday then too?
Yeah.
well, no, the position's expired.
Right,
He would expire with his resignation.
Would it?
It does.
It-
I mean,
We've never,
he's resigning from his journeyman lineman position. Not necessarily,
he's resigning from his employment.
We should,
it says from his
Okay.
journeyman lineman.
yeah. We can we
I'm
put
just saying.
something,
You
right,
got-
can we put something in the motion that
Well, it just
explains
says,
that?
it says review and accept the resignation of Shane Donegan, and that's what we're doing, we're accepting his resignation, we're not basing it on what his position is. So if he's
But
gone,
he is.
Well, I think-
He-
Okay,
Yeah, but-
if we word the motion as we are accepting his resignation as journeyman lineman and interim superintendent.
That's not how he submitted it.
If
that's,
we, if we.
but we can say that here because we didn't really, there's nothing here that it says review and accept the resignation of Shane Donegan is what it says here. So we can put whatever wording in our motion that we want to.
Yeah, we can accept his resignation and remove the interim
Yeah,
superintendent.
and he will
from
no
him.
longer be the,
Interim
okay, I
superintendent.
got the, yeah.
Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, so if you do,
What's that?
motion is to accept the resignation of Shane Donegan and
As
as journeyman lineman and
interim
and
superintendent.
remove him, what did I just say? It's good.
And remove his
And he will no
designation
and-
as interim superintendent.
Yeah.
Okay.
or all employment with Juneau Utility.
Yeah,
That would be the cleanest way, I guess.
I guess.
Whatever, I'm just, you know, we had to cover the base on the first thing.
Yeah, I know,
Has he been getting paid that you
No.
just,
No, because you didn't have this down that.
we didn't have the name in
So it'd be
there.
so he's gonna get paid for 3 days?
No, it's effective August 15th, when the first day after. when
So
it
you're
drops.
paying retro?
Yes, back pay.
Okay,
No wonder
so you have that
it
down?
fits up there.
Who made the motion?
You did.
You did.
Okay.
No, you made the
Or
motion
maybe
on the first
I think
one.
I made the motion, actually.
Oh,
I think I made the motion.
Bart made the motion. Who, I'll second it, then we get that thing straight down. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay. Next item is approve the reinstatement of Nick Dahlman as electric superintendent to be effective Monday, September 18th, 2023, per the terms of the offer letter from the Utility Commission. You all have that
Yep,
letter?
the last page.
So, anybody want to make the motion to?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ross, second by me. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Did you vote on the last one?
Yes, we did. It passed.
I'm just one behind, sorry.
All right, Mr. Mayor.
Nothing other than, like I said, we have been official documentation that we've been awarded the grant money for those 2 blocks of Oak Street, so you're gonna have to plan on it. And like I said, I will follow up best I can with Michael, or with Jason Lau in regards to expanding your project for the remaining block, I guess. So at least I'll get you started anyway. Otherwise, you're gonna have to probably do a separate contract or whatever. Either way, it's a good time of year to get advertised for bids and get it done.
Okay. Old business, to take action is needed from 7/24/23. Special Utility Commission meeting, wait until budget time. We said it was wait until budget time to consider implementing new wage scale for wastewater treatment employees. It is, I asked to have this put into the new budget. I believe Alex did the same. So,
I included a copy of the wage scale on the back page of your packet.
I mean,
That was the one that you guys had already
yeah.
discussed in the other meeting.
So, do you, I suppose we should, have a motion to implement that new proposed variable increase study that Alex put together.
Scale.
I guess I would, I don't know where the new hire Nicholas would wind up. He was, when I put this together was prior to his hire, and he is working for the 2287 wage. So I just want to make sure that we would potentially bump him when this is enacted, at least to the 2296 wage and not the 2213. Just so that it's in writing.
He would, yeah, he would, if nothing else, I would believe he would stay at the wage he's at, and then at his next raise time, he'd go and back onto this new wage scale.
That
So these raises are in place of the cost of living?
No,
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 they would be
So the cost of living gets put on top of these?
these.
correct.
At the first of the year? I thought we talked about at the first of the year.
Well, this would happen at the first of the year. This was, I think we discussed that this would happen at the first of the year.
Yeah. These wages?
That's what I thought we discussed.
And then the cost of living gets added on top of that?
That way we're still working. I
Yes.
don't know.
So that's what you would,
That would be the proposal, yes. Basically, because these numbers are worked up off of current comparable numbers. And you have to assume that people you're comparing to are also doing cost of living increases at the same time.
Okay, so
It
they
doesn't
just
say-
pick somebody here.
It doesn't say that it was supposed to be as of the first of the year, it just said wait until budget time to consider implementing
Well,
the
it
wage
was,
scale.
I think this was planning on going into effect the
It would
first
go
of the year,
with
so
the
it was,
budget.
so it was a budgeted, so it was budget,
in
as
budget.
a budgeted item, and we are not just adding it now, and then
Yeah,
where do we come up with the money for this for the rest of the year?
Right.
That was why it's a first of the year deal.
okay, that makes sense.
Because we're already budgeted.
So then the budget that you made up, you said you added 4%
Right. And this.
on top of these
On top of
numbers?
this new wage scale.
So, for instance, one of them gets, so that'd be like 7.5% raise the first of the year?
Yes. Because this was about 3.5% that we did for this increase, and then whatever the cost of living is, so up to 7.5 of it, that's
this brings you comparable with what other people are making at that, doing the same job.
And then ultimately, the biggest goal behind this was getting our starting wage for our low-end operators to be at a level where they have room to move up. So that's why the basic wastewater, or the just wastewater treatment plant operator got 2.25. So it fixes the scale in that sense. But they went the opposite direction as you went up the line.
So Alex, you're saying that on your note, under the proposed variable increase, you have the note moves the new hire to the starting wage.
So that was
should not-
before the new
Right,
hire
but I
was
just want to clarify
hired.
what it is that you want it to say, so that we can note it properly.
Yeah, so it just basically moves new hire to 6-month wage.
Okay.
So, anybody else have any questions on this? We need a motion?
So we're not looking at the 2% increase or the 1% increase, we're looking at the proposed variable.
Variable.
Right, Removal's variable.
I don't remember who made it in, I'll make it this time, I guess. I don't remember who made it when we were in personnel.
I don't remember.
I could look it
either.
up, because it's in there.
Yeah, it's
but
probably in there.
I don't remember.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Bart, second by Dave?
Yeah.
Second by Dave. To implement the variable increase scale. Any discussion?
I'm gonna vote against it, but I just want to explain why, because I think that's, I'm not against getting competitive wages for everybody. I just think that's a big jump. And being on the council end of it,
Yeah,
I hear a lot of that stuff.
uh-huh.
And and we're gonna hear it again. We heard it last
I
year,
know-
and we're gonna
I
hear it
know we're gonna
again.
hear, I know we're gonna hear it, and I guess I apologize for it, but the problem is, if we
I'm not
don't.
doing it, I'm not
Yeah.
voting against it because personally,
Yeah. Yeah, I get
don't
why
think
you're
it's
doing
right.
it.
I don't think, I understand what you're saying, but I think we should do it more gradually.
Well, unfortunately, we weren't keeping up to it the way we were doing it, that's the unfortunate.
No, but we
Yeah.
can do it more gradually is what I'm thinking.
All righty, I understand.
I
So,
struggled with it too, believe me,
All-
I struggled with it too.
all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Mr. Evans. Mr. I use still.
I totally understand,
That's
I
effective
struggle with it
January
too,
1.
Yeah.
because I'm not
And
getting
then am I
any
noting that
raise.
reduce the cost
Yeah,
of
there you go.
And
So-
I'll also note that the new hire gets to the 6
Yeah.
months instead of the straight, okay.
All righty. Is there any new business? Somebody like to make a motion to get out of here?
Adjourned.
Motion by Bart, second by Dave to adjourn. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried.